Look out, your food has stopped growing. Cherry trees have been suffering from blooming either too early or too late, and they still are. Every year, they are at higher risk of not blooming at all. This has to do with extreme shifts in the climate, tricking the cherry trees into thinking it's either a very early or very late spring. And this phenomena is not only happening to cherry trees, fortunately, it is happening to your food. Imagine what would happen with the world and its economy if crops did not grow. Economically, the global food market is collapsing in the wake of climate change. Most of the produce you find in your local grocery stores come from California. However, agriculture in this state is being deeply affected by climate change. Various climate trends like precipitation, temperature, droughts, extreme weather conditions, and heavy amounts of snowpack in the Sierra Nevada mountains have been occurring over this past century. These tragedies have been affecting the growth rate of California's agricultural produce every year. I know this sounds scary, but the fruit that is most affected by climate change is our beloved avocado. By 2080, the avocado's growth rate will be negative 40% of what it is today. Climate isn't just affecting avocados, however. It is affecting vegetables, grains, nuts, and fruits. Much to my parents' dismay, even wine grapes are feeling the impact of climate change. Sorry, California, but looks like your famous wine sipping tours will come to an end. Our crops have suffered from climate change before. Throughout history, many civilizations' crops have suffered from climate change, one of them being France. Starting in 1788 and continuing until 1796, a succession of El Nino events pounded the world's agriculture, disrupting it to a degree of unseen in 1,000 years. France's crop struggles began with the summer drought of 1787. Then, when spring arrived a bit too late, a heavy wet season ruined most of the harvest in 1788. This is all thanks to the El Nino phenomenon, a climate cycle in the Pacific Ocean with a global impact on weather patterns. El Nino is a term that refers to the large-scale ocean-atmosphere climate interaction linked to the periodic warming in sea surface temperatures across the central and east-central equatorial Pacific. El Nino can influence weather patterns, ocean conditions, and marine life across large portions of the globe for a long period of time. Wetter than average conditions occur over portions of the U.S. Gulf Coast, while drier than average conditions occur in the Ohio Valley and Pacific Northwest. In France, the summer drought collapsed wine sales, dragging down its economy. People raided bakeries and rioted over the price of bread. Even though the weather was to blame, starving mobs of people can't take vengeance on Mother Nature. Although it did not cause the French Revolution, some say the effects of the drought certainly contributed to it. Although the people of France did not have a solution for their situation at the time, many generations of people learned from their experience, so that it would not be repeated. Extreme historic climate events have helped agriculturalists develop new ways to avoid future crop catastrophes. For example, growing a wide variety of crops in a given region lessens the risk of all crops will be wiped out by a severe drought or wet season. This method of farming is known as a polyculture, agriculture using multiple crops in the same place, avoiding large areas of single crops, which are monocultures. Different crops depend on different nutrients and water amounts. Diversifying crops help ensure that something will be available during stressful times. Historical weather events such as France's summer drought of 1787 have provided us with important information on how climate affects crops. As awful as it must have been to live through, there is always something good that comes out of something bad. We are all stronger than the enemy when we are in greater numbers. That is why my first recommendation is to have polyculture crops. One species itself is easy to target, like what happened to the monoculture crop in the Irish potato famine. And many species can not only be less vulnerable, but they can also support each other with nutritional values. It will be hard to manage a lot of species at once, so my second recommendation is to never grow your crops alone. Having many people by your side can help accomplish harder tasks faster than expected. Even if your crops are being struck by climate change, there will be more people to spread the word. Additionally, my other recommendation is to grow the top few produces most people want. That way you can earn more money to buy more food for yourself and your crops. Lastly and most importantly, we need to do everything we can to reduce our carbon footprint to help slow, maybe even reverse the effects of climate change. The future of the planet, people, and crops all depend on how mindful we are with other resources. Our food is sensitive to the climate, plain and simple. Although warmth helps create long and plentiful growth seasons, too much heat can harm an entire crop. Climate change is affecting the quality of agriculture. Farmers are experiencing increasing damage to their crops. Ensuring environmental sustainability can only be achieved if we are working together to either A, combat climate change, or B, implement farming techniques that will withstand extreme weather conditions. Reducing our carbon footprint and conserving natural resources is the most important thing we can do to slow or prevent extreme climate events. In the meantime, it is important for farmers to adjust their agricultural methods to withstand extreme weather. We would be ignorant not to pay attention to history. That being said, how will you move forward with this information? Will you become part of the problem or a part of the solution? The future of your food depends on it.